The operative word in that sentence you asked me was and. Learning intentions without success criteria, hopeless. Success criteria without having learning intentions is not as bad, not very good. One of the things that I like Shirley Clark from England's work in this area particularly is how you can construct those success criteria in terms of what students are supposed to learn, not what they're supposed to do. And one of the mistakes I see is so often you have a learning intention about what we're doing today. It's just not interesting. It's not about the task. Like, I go back to the examples I was using before. The best way of showing students what success criteria is to show them what an A looks like before they start. Show them what a B looks like. Show them what the end of the product looks like. Now, a lot of teachers I work with struggle with that because they think that what success looks like is what you achieve when you get to the end. And obviously in our time-constrained world, the end means the end of a series of lessons. And we don't value efficiency. What would happen if the kids learned it earlier? Well, that's a bit of a problem for us in many ways. We have to adjust that time frame. I went to a school this morning and I saw the second part of what I wanted to say on this, is I saw the students putting up success criteria before they started. They were doing this science work and they were starting with what would success look like. Now, they struggled to know what that was. They needed a lot of help. That's why the teacher's there. But teaching the kids up front what it looks like when they get there. How do I know when they get? Like, I go back to my sports analogy. If I said to you, I'm going to teach you what Australian rules football looks like, but I'm not going to tell you what the rules are, and I'm not going to tell you how to score, but I want you to go out there and play it. For many of you, you'd give up very quickly, particularly in a game like Australian rules. It just looks random. Unfortunately, for a lot of kids in our school, that's what learning looks like. So all I have to do is wait, and I'll either be guided or I'll be told off. What I want to do up front is show them what that success looks like. Like, I go back to that example before. I'm a kid, I'm struggling in maths. Please give me the answer, and then I'll worry about the strategy. Show me what that success looks like. Now, I want both. I want them to get the right answer, but sometimes I have to show them successful learning in this way, and now I want you to concentrate and use your efficiency in terms of the strategies. Now, the other part of that is that if you, teacher, before you start, have a clear understanding of what success looks like, you're more likely to get rid of the stuff that doesn't matter. You're more likely to acknowledge and understand what it looks like. And you are, and here's the critical one, you're more likely to tell the kids up front. Like when I went back before and talked about what a visible learning school looks like, it's when kids know what success looks like before they start. Like, a lot of kids will give up, or they'll do what they have to do until the bell goes. That is not what you call lifelong learning. That's not what I think our schools are about. For some students, they will do what you ask them to do, regardless of whether it's the beginning or the end. Great. But what about those other kids? It's only if it's showing up near the front. Now, the front doesn't mean the very first day. Sometimes on the first day you want to understand what the kids know and don't know before you decide what success looks like. Like, as Graham Nuttall, he spent years of his life putting microphones on kids every morning of the year. Every afternoon he went home and listened to them. And one of his findings, 60% of what's taught in every lesson the kids know already. So it's a very important phase at the beginning to understand what kids don't know. But very soon after that, I just don't think there is any excuse for not exposing to the students what success looks like in this lesson. You might want to then argue that it's cheating, that they get to know. Is it really such a problem that they learn what the end of the task looks like up the front? Now, what you're going to have to do as a teacher is you're going to have to be more creative about thinking different ways for understanding whether the kids truly have got it or if they're parroting. And that requires a different set of teaching strategies, but those are the strategies I want you to have. I just don't think there's any argument about why it should be a secret. Why should we be the people in the room that will dob you on the head and say, now you've got it? If you're going to believe that kids should be self-motivated, should be into self-regulation and should be in all this lovely language we like to use. If you're going to self-monitor, if you're going to self-assess, if you're going to self-talk, if you're going to worry about the whole self-evaluation, you better have a target to do that to. Now, one of the things we discovered, and we mainly worked in years 7, 8 in this area, is that a lot of kids, they have goals, they have success criteria, but the majority of those success criteria is performance-related. Doing it on time, doing it neatly, and making it expand to the length it's supposed to be. And we stupidly, in retrospect, went into those schools and said, well, how do we get them to have more mastery learning? And we did success criteria. It didn't work. It worked finally when we taught the teachers how to show kids what mastery looked like in success criteria. And yes, many kids parroted what the teachers were saying, but we don't see that as a problem at all. Of course, we want more than that. And so, no, I don't think there's any excuse for doing it at the end. I don't think that we should be saying to kids in every lesson, just trust me, wait and I'll tell you, and you might get there or you might not. The thing that drives me most in my work in schools is finding ways to keep the kids in schools as long as possible. Like as a father of those 4 boys, Hank Levin's work impressed me. He showed that the best predictor in adult life of health, wealth and happiness was not achievement at school. It was the number of years in schooling. So I am absolutely obsessed with ways in which we can make schools inviting places for kids to be. And most kids make the decision about to stay in school around the ages of 11, 12. And so how do we make learning? You sure as hang don't make learning inviting by saying, wait, I'll tell you when you get there, do more. Oh, now I'll give you a test, now I'll see if you've got there. For some kids, they love it. And they'll go on to be our doctors and our lawyers. They love that kind of game. But for many kids who are going to be on our entrepreneurs, who are going to be our most successful people in our community, they want to have more control of their learning. If I was working with you in a school, I'd want to hear up front what, in this particular year group you're dealing with, what success would look like to start with. So you've got this group of kids. Now, what I want to listen to is I want you to have a deep knowledge of where every student is at the beginning. If you just told me generally and said this is the curriculum, I'd be worried. I'd want to know where each kid starts, because one of our killers is that we group kids in our system, and you do it here in Ontario by years. Now, I know that what year 2 means is that in year 2 there are at least 2 years growth gap. I know year 5 means there are 5 years growth gap in year 5. Year 10, there are 10 years growth gap. That's what it means to me. So there's no such thing as a year 2 or a year 5 curriculum. So if you started there, I would be worried. So I want to hear what success would look like. And I obviously want you to worry about every kid, where they start, what success would look like. I want to be up front. And the tool we created in New Zealand allows teachers to be up front, allows principals to be up front, to understand what you think success for every kid looks like. So I can come into you after a month and say, look, Pauline, this is what the year 3 teacher has said. This is what the year 5 teacher has said. This is what you, the year 6 teacher, do you realise your expectations are lower than the year 3? I want to get in front of that, because I know that what your expectations are in terms of what you think success is amongst the most powerful things. So I'd start there. What does success look like? I want you to show me the nature of the evidence of the growth of the kids through the year. And again, if you showed me a test, you'd have failed. If you don't show me a test, you would have failed. I want to see it across a variety of ways of evidence about the growth that they're making relative to the standards you're aiming for. Obviously, I'd want to include in that some kind of growth measures, the growth effect size stuff that we've been using. That's part of the equation, not the only part, but that's part of it. I think any time the answer is 1 in education, we've got the wrong answer. It's a variety of ways. And I'd want you to do that with your other teachers. I'd like you, in the professional development that we have, I want you to be prepared to be contested about whether good enough is good enough. By you saying, this is evidence of the kind of change that I've achieved, this is where the kids were starting, this is where they're ending, and I'd like you to be open about that with your other teachers to say, is that good enough? So that you can start to say, have I got a common conception of progress? Am I getting the kind of progress I need? That's certainly the kind of things I'd be wanting to do in a school.